A year ago, I wouldn't have told anyone this story, not even my therapist. I would have laughed it off, maybe called it a classic Toby moment, and buried the rage under sarcasm. But something happened last week, and now I can't shut up about it. I'm Eli, 30. Former firefighter turned part-time EMT after a warehouse collapse tore up my leg and my trust in people. I live with my husband Marcus. He's a veterinarian with the kind of patience that makes strangers overshare at grocery stores. This morning I was cleaning the porch when I found a note taped to our front door. Just one line. You always wanted a family. Congrats. Underneath it, a diaper bag, a toddler carrier, and a kid. My nephew Jonah, 2 years old, alone, freezing. Yeah, I know. Back up. Let me tell you how we got here. I was adopted when I was 9. My biomom OD'd, and nobody else stepped up. The Taylors. Brad and Denise were this nice church-going couple who already had a biological son, Toby. 2 years younger than me, blonde, blue-eyed, soccer jersey-wearing poster child. I was the charity project. The trauma kid with a weird laugh and scarred arms. I tried, man. Really tried. I kept my grades up, said yes to church, kept quiet when Toby trashed my stuff or blamed things on me. They always called it boys being boys. Classic. The real split happened around college time. I had everything lined up, scholarship, a job at the fire department right after graduation, and Brad's promise. You served this family. We'll back you when it counts. What I didn't know, they'd already backed Toby. Like fully. Toby, who dropped out of college after 1 semester, then burned through 2 failed startup attempts and 1 crypto scam phase, had apparently needed some help. So yeah, my tuition fund, the small trust set up after I got injured in training, gone. They loaned it to Toby so he could start some influencer clothing brand that lasted 6 months and left him with debt and 3 ring lights. The site had spelling errors in the homepage, for God's sake. I remember sitting in the living room when they told me. Brad wouldn't even look me in the eye. Denise had this fake smile plastered on like she was talking about the weather. You've always been the strong one, Eli. You'll figure it out. WTF does that even mean? I left the next day. Didn't scream, didn't argue. Just grabbed my gear, hugged Marcus, and walked out. That was 8 years ago. Fast forward. I moved across the state. Got married. Marcus and I bought a modest place, nothing crazy but peaceful. We have a cat that acts like a dog and a neighbor who bakes too much. Life finally felt ours. No calls, no birthday texts. I sent a Christmas card once. Got silence in return. Toby still had them wrapped around his little influencer failing fingers. I was just the ungrateful one, apparently. Then out of nowhere last week. We're prepping for Thanksgiving. Marcus is checking the turkey brine. I'm making sure the outdoor lights won't electrocute anyone. Then the doorbell rings at 6:14 a.m. I open it, and there's Jonah, my nephew, who I've never met, in footy pajamas, holding a half-empty juice box. No adult in sight. The note was taped to his little coat. Toby's off to Bali. Says he can't be a dad right now. You're better at this shit anyway. Screw that. I called every number I had. Denise straight to voicemail. Brad same. Toby blocked me years ago after I told him his NFT pitch deck looked like a PowerPoint for a middle school science fair. Marcus scooped Jonah up without hesitation. Me, I just stood there in my front yard holding that note, shaking like a damn leaf. Later that afternoon, Denise finally calls. No apology, no concern. Just this soft, southern accented guilt trip. Eli, honey, we thought maybe you'd want to step in. You've always been so good with responsibility. I nearly threw the phone across the kitchen. I asked her straight. Where the hell is your son? He needs time, Eli. Parenting is hard, especially for someone like Toby. Excuse me, someone like Toby? This is the same dude who once faked an injury to get out of a speeding ticket and then posted about it on Instagram. I told her point blank, I'm reporting this. I'm calling CPS, and if you try to cover for him, they'll be investigating you next. She hung up. No, please, no thank you. Just a soft gasp, like how dare I stop being the reliable one. That night, Jonah wouldn't sleep unless Marcus hummed the Moana soundtrack. He called Marcus daddy by mistake once, then called me daddy too. I didn't correct him. We gave him a bath, brushed his teeth. Marcus put a nightlight in the guest room. I sat outside the door for 2 hours just listening, making sure he was okay. He snored like a drunk puppy. I cried for the first time in years. Not because I was sad, not even because I was overwhelmed, but because this tiny human dropped like trash on our doorstep was finally safe. And I knew deep down that I wasn't giving him back. Next morning, I called CPS the second their office opened. Did I hesitate? Sure. For like 5 seconds. Then I looked at Jonah trying to pour dry Cheerios into a bowl twice his size and realized something: he doesn't need second chances. He needs protection. Marcus backed me all the way. He's not the "let's stay out of it" type. He was already on the phone with a family lawyer by the time I hung up with the social worker. CPS sent someone by that afternoon. A woman named Carol, mid-40s, serious eyes, practical haircut, but she smiled at Jonah like he was the only thing that mattered. She took one look at the diaper bag and asked, "Where's his coat?" We both just froze. I hadn't even noticed. "He didn't come with one," I said. "Or shoes." Carol wrote that down. Hard. Pen dug into the form like it owed her money. She did the whole inspection. Our house was clean, safe, kid-friendly enough. We still had those baby gates in storage from when our niece stayed over last year. Jonah passed out during the interview, curled up in Marcus's hoodie. When Carol left, she looked at me and said, "I've seen worse, but not often from a two-parent household with money." Turns out Toby had done this before. Carol pulled up past reports Jonah being left for 36 hours with a friend who turned out to be some girl Toby was casually dating. Another time, he allegedly left Jonah at a co-working space because he's chill around laptops. I wish I was kidding. CPS had tried to investigate back then, but Denise always swooped in, called it a misunderstanding, blamed stress, waved around their nice zip code like a shield. Typical. But this time, there was a paper trail, cameras, a damn note. 2 days later, cops showed up at our door with a formal statement for me to sign. Marcus had already forwarded them our doorbell footage, time-stamped 4:17 a.m. Toby's rusted-out Jeep hoodie pulled over his face, toddler in tow. Clear as day. The cops were polite but blunt. "We're filing abandonment and endangerment charges. If your family calls, don't engage." Oh, they called. First Denise. Same guilty voice, same "you have to understand" bullshit. I didn't answer. Then Brad. First time I've heard his voice in years. "You're blowing this out of proportion. We were going to come get him next week. Next week, next week." I lost it. For the first time in a long time, I didn't hold back. "He left a toddler in the cold. You don't get to call that parenting. You don't get to clean this up like you always do. This isn't spilled juice. This is a fucking felony." He hung up on me. The next person who called. Toby. Blocked number. I answered before I realized it was him. "Yo man, I need you to chill. This is bad optics." I could barely breathe. Bad what? "You called CPS, bro. What the hell? I'm about to lose my brand deal with Celsius. You don't get how this works." "You mean parenting? No social. My TikTok's down to half engagement. This is serious." "So, is leaving your kid on my porch. You're acting like I dropped off a puppy. That'd be illegal too." He started to say something else, but I just couldn't. I hung up. Blocked him again. And I sat there shaking, knowing damn well that if this guy didn't face real consequences now, he never would. 2 nights later, it got worse. Marcus and I were watching TV when his phone blew up. Text after text. Someone sent us a link to a live stream. Toby, on Instagram, in Bali, shirtless, talking about toxic family and being attacked by jealous people who never wanted him to succeed. He said, and I quote, "Some people just can't handle seeing their younger brother win. Even if I leave them a blessing, they turn it into a burden." He meant Jonah. He called his son a burden. He also claimed he was working with CPS directly and that the situation was totally handled. Meanwhile, I was changing diapers and figuring out how to explain to a 2-year-old why daddy stopped showing up. Marcus, bless him, had a better idea. He wants followers. We give him some. Marcus reached out to a former client, a journalist he helped when her rescue dog needed surgery. She owed him a favor. By the end of the week, BuzzFeed Parents had a headline, "I was abandoned with my nephew. Then my influencer brother tried to blame me." It blew up. Comments flooded in. Reddit threads. TikTok stitches. A psychologist on YouTube did a whole breakdown of Toby's gaslighting language and called him a narcissist with ring lights. People dug into his accounts, found old tweets, old videos where Jonah cried in the background while Toby played video games. A clip of Toby calling toddlers energy vampires. Brands started dropping him, fast. My inbox, full of strangers saying thank you for speaking up. The parents went radio silent for a few days. Then came the email. Subject, let's talk. Brad wrote it. 4 paragraphs of fake professionalism and thinly veiled threats. You've made things very public. We don't appreciate being vilified by someone we raised. I replied with a screenshot of the police report and a note. You raised him, not me. That shut them up. For now. Meanwhile, Jonah started saying full sentences. Uncle Eli make pancakes. Uncle Marcus no like broccoli. Where'd Daddy go? That one hurt. Every time he asked, I just said the same thing. He had to go away for a while. But one morning, Jonah looked at me, scrunched his face like he was thinking hard and said, You stay, you don't leave. I nodded. Yeah, buddy, I'm not going anywhere. And I meant it. That night, I filed for emergency custody. The lawyer said it was a long shot. I wasn't blood. I wasn't named on anything. But I had receipts, footage, witnesses, CPS on my side. We had a chance. And just like that, this became real. Not babysitting, not temporary. Fatherhood. The kind that grows out of rage, yes, but also out of something deeper. The kind that says, you dropped him, so I picked him up. And I'm never putting him down. 2 weeks after filing for emergency custody, we got the court date. It was faster than expected, maybe because CPS filed a concurrent report, or maybe because the story had gone so public that the system realized all eyes were watching. Either way, the hearing was scheduled for a Monday morning at 9 a.m. I didn't sleep the night before. Jonah curled up between Marcus and me around 2 a.m., still in his little Spider-Man pajamas. I watched him breathe, tiny chest rising and falling, hand wrapped around Marcus's finger. And all I could think was, please let the judge see what we see. That morning we dressed him in the best outfit we could find. A little button-up shirt and khakis. Marcus even combed his hair, which Jonah absolutely hated. He looked like a tiny accountant with jam on his face. We dropped him off with Marcus's sister for the day. Then we drove to the courthouse in silence. My stomach felt like it was eating itself. The courtroom was sterile and too cold. Our lawyer Janine was calm but direct. She'd dealt with enough family court chaos to know how messy things could get. On the other side, Brad and Denise. Yep, they showed up. Toby, still in Bali, sent a lawyer on his behalf, a smug guy in a blazer with no socks and a Bluetooth in his ear. He didn't even glance at me. When the judge asked for initial statements, Toby's lawyer stood up and said, My client is exploring a spiritual path abroad and was under the impression that his parents had agreed to temporary guardianship of the child in question. I barked out a laugh. Couldn't help it. The judge shot me a look, but not a harsh one, more like she was barely holding it together too. Janine stood and laid it all out: video evidence, CPS testimony, police report, screenshots of texts, and livestream clips. She brought the damn receipts. Then she added, My client never asked for this. He simply refused to turn away a child left freezing on his doorstep with no food, no plan, and no future. That line hit. Even the court clerk blinked. Then Denise took the stand. And oh my God. I don't know what I expected. Maybe tears, maybe remorse. What I got was a performance. We love Jonah. We were simply giving Eli space to reconnect with the family. This could have been a beautiful opportunity for healing. Healing. I nearly flipped the table. She kept going, her voice wobbling in all the strategic places. Eli's always been a little emotional. We thought helping Toby pursue his passion would inspire Eli to open his heart. I whispered to Marcus, they think this is a fucking TED Talk. When Janine cross-examined, she didn't hold back. Mrs. Taylor, are you aware that your son called his child a burden on a live stream from another country? That was taken out of context. Is there a context where that's acceptable? Silence. Were you planning to care for Jonah yourself after dropping him with Eli? Well, we assumed. You assumed Eli would do what he's always done. Clean up your mess. That shut her up. Brad barely spoke. One sentence. We thought Eli had the stability. It just made sense. That was it. That was his whole defense. After the hearing wrapped, the judge ordered a full psych eval for Toby in absentia and temporarily placed Jonah in our custody pending review. It wasn't a win. Not yet. But it was a step. That night, Marcus made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. Jonah was too tired to eat. He fell asleep mid-bite. We cleaned up in silence. Then I sat at the kitchen table just breathing. Marcus came over, leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You okay?" I shrugged. I don't even know what this is anymore. It's not revenge. It's not anger. It's just survival. Yeah, but now it's ours. I looked at him, and for the first time in weeks, I felt steady. Not calm, just rooted. Like if the world wanted to swing again, I could stand still this time. 3 days later, the story blew up again. One of Toby's ex-girlfriends emailed BuzzFeed with screenshots, texts, voice memos, videos. He'd been bragging about unloading the kid for months, even tried convincing someone to fake a paternity test so he could legally disappear. It was disgusting. More influencers dropped him. A podcast he'd been booked on released a statement calling him incompatible with our values. One fitness brand actually posted a meme roasting him, "We support deadlifts, not deadbeats." Jonah's face never appeared in any of it, we made sure of that. But the weight of it all settled in our house like a heavy fog. He started waking up crying, calling for daddy. Sometimes he meant Toby. Sometimes he meant Marcus. Sometimes he meant both. We took him to therapy. The court-appointed child psychologist met with Jonah 3 times. At the final session, she sat us down and said something I'll never forget. "He's adapting, but he's already learned that love is temporary. You two are the first stable thing he's ever had. Don't underestimate what that means." We didn't. Final hearing came 5 weeks later. Toby didn't show. Big surprise. His lawyer read a pre-written statement where Toby acknowledged the pain he may have caused, but claimed he needed to choose himself to be a better father in the future. The judge interrupted. "He has shown no interest in being a father now. The future is irrelevant." She ruled on the spot. Jonah permanent guardianship awarded to me and Marcus. Toby stripped of all parental rights, required to pay child support if he ever steps foot back in the U.S. Brad and Denise denied visitation. Their faces pure humiliation. Denise looked like someone had unplugged her soul. Brad looked like he wanted to disappear into the bench. I didn't say a word. Not then. After court, Denise followed me outside, called my name like we were at a church potluck. "Eli, wait. Please, he's still your brother." I turned slow and steady. "No, he was your project. I was just a placeholder." "We didn't know he'd turn out this way." "Yeah, you did. You just didn't care." She reached for my arm. I stepped back. "Don't. This isn't some reunion special. This is where you learn that love without accountability isn't love. It's convenience." She cried. I walked away. Didn't look back. That night, Jonah handed me a drawing he made in crayon. 2 stick figures, one with spiky hair, definitely Marcus. One with a beard, me, and a little scribble in between. "That's me," he said. I smiled. "Yeah, buddy, that's us. We're a team. Always." We're still figuring things out. Jonah has nightmares sometimes. He clings harder on days he doesn't understand. Marcus and I trade off bedtime shifts. We've memorized every damn episode of Bluey. But he laughs now, full belly laughs. He calls me Dad. And sometimes when he's half asleep, he whispers, "You stayed." And I whisper back, "Always." 6 months went by like a blur and a gut punch wrapped into one. Some days were sunshine and target runs with Jonah riding in the cart yelling beans at the top of his lungs. Other days felt like walking through emotional landmines, like when he asked if he could send his drawings to the people who used to be Grandma and Grandpa. That used to be part C. He came up with that on his own. Marcus and I didn't correct him, because he wasn't wrong. The court ruling changed everything legally but emotionally. That's where the real work started. And not just for Jonah, for me too. Like, I didn't realize how deep the damage ran until Marcus gently asked me one night if I'd ever want to write my mom a letter just for closure, even if you don't send it. I laughed. Hard. But not because it was funny. Closure isn't a letter, I told him. It's a locked fucking door. Still, I wrote one. Just to see what would come out. It ended up being 2 pages of sarcasm, anger, and weirdly grief. Not for her, but for the version of myself I used to be around her. The kid who kept waiting to be seen even if it meant getting hurt over and over again. Jonah's therapy was helping. He'd started saying things like, "It's okay to be mad. Sometimes people make bad choices. You didn't leave me. That makes you my real daddy." That last one wrecked me. I had to step into the hallway and just breathe. Marcus followed me out, wrapped his arms around me, whispered, "You earned that." But it didn't feel like earning. It felt like surviving. Like we were rebuilding something we didn't destroy, brick by emotional brick, while the people who did break it all sat somewhere pretending none of this was their fault. Speaking of them, they tried again. First it was a card, no return address, just thinking of Jonah, love Grandma and Grandpa. I didn't respond. Then Denise sent a voice message to Marcus's sister. Not even me. Coward move. We're just so devastated. We were told we couldn't reach out directly. Please let Eli know we still love him. And Jonah. We'd love to be part of his life. Love him. Where was that love when they handed a baby off like he was leftovers? Where was it when they let their golden boy vanish to Bali with nothing but a spiritual journey and a vape sponsorship? I blocked the number. Then came the kicker. Toby came back. Flew into LAX like nothing happened, posted a picture of himself in sunglasses and captioned it, "Back in the land of lawsuits and haters." Unreal. A day later, he was on some second-tier podcast doing his usual victim dance. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. I thought my family would support me, not crucify me. He actually said crucify. Like he was the one tied to a damn cross. But the worst part, he said Jonah was probably better off without him anyway. Then followed it up with, "I mean, it's not like I signed up to be a parent. I was 22. Dude, you were a parent. That's how this works. You don't get to drop a kid and rebrand. Marcus and I filed a cease and desist to stop him from using Jonah's name in public. Janine took care of it in like 2 hours flat. Toby responded with a post saying he was being silenced by the woke police. Marcus said, "Woke. We're literally just two tired gay dads trying to protect a kid from your narcissism." Anyway, that was the last straw. I posted my own video. Just one. No clickbait title. No drama. Just me sitting on our couch holding Jonah's drawing from that day, the one where he drew us all as dinosaurs. I talked about what it feels like to clean up someone else's damage. How betrayal from blood cuts deeper than anything else. How parenting isn't about DNA, it's about showing up when no one else will. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. The video blew up. People started sharing their own stories in the comments. My mom always picked my sister too. "You're the dad every kid deserves. Thank you for saying what so many of us feel." I sat there at 1 a.m. reading hundreds of them one after another like pouring antiseptic on a wound you didn't realize was still bleeding. Because for so long I thought it was just me. Just me feeling like the disposable one. The one who didn't get picked. Turns out there's a whole damn army of us out there patching ourselves back together with therapy distance and boundary setting. Some of them even called it found family. Which sounded cheesy to me until Jonah asked if we could put our family of 3 on his birthday cake. We did. The parents tried one more time. This time it was a letter, actual handwriting. Smelled like expensive perfume. "We miss you. We made mistakes. Please let us explain." And for a second, like a full 5 seconds, I almost felt something. Then I remembered the last time Denise looked me in the eye and said I was too emotional for reacting to them draining my college fund. I remembered Brad's silence as they tried to hand Jonah off like a community chore. And I burned the letter in the backyard grill. Jonah watched. Asked if we were making marshmallows. "Not this time, buddy," I said. "Maybe later. Definitely later." He smiled and ran off to play with his Hot Wheels. That kid, man, he's got more resilience in his pinky than most adults I know. Later that night, Marcus asked if I'd ever want to tell Jonah everything, the full truth. "Someday," I said, "but only when he's old enough to understand that the people who made you don't always know how to love you." And when he asks if Toby loved him, I'll tell him the truth. Which is, Toby loved himself more. We both sat with that for a while. It hurt, but it was real. And that's what Jonah deserves. Not fairy tales, not faked peace, just the truth. Last week, Jonah graduated from his first year of preschool. He wore a tiny cap. He held a glittery certificate. He looked for us in the crowd like he was scanning the horizon for safety. And when he saw us, his whole face lit up. Afterward, he ran up and said, "You guys were the loudest clappers." I laughed. Damn right we were. Daddy don't say bad words. Fair. He made me a macaroni necklace that spelled Eli is the best dad. I wore it all day. So yeah, life's not perfect. We still argue about screen time. I still have moments where I flinch when the phone rings. I still battle that little voice inside me that wonders if I'm doing enough being enough. But then I see Jonah draw another weird dinosaur family or fall asleep with one leg on Marcus and one on my arm, and I remember, enough isn't about being flawless. It's about staying. It's about showing up when you're not required to. It's about breaking the cycle. And honestly, if this is what revenge looks like, a safe home, a happy kid, and two parents making pancakes on a Sunday, I'll take that over rage any day. But if they ever come knocking again, let's just say the door's got a new lock, and we're not answering. It's been a year now. One full rotation around the sun since Jonah showed up on our doorstep in footy pajamas and no coat, clutching a stuffed octopus like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to Earth. And somehow, we made it. There's a photo on our fridge from last weekend, Jonah sitting on Marcus's shoulders at the farmer's market, grinning with strawberry juice all over his face, arms in the air like he just won the Super Bowl. You wouldn't know what that kid's been through unless we told you, and we don't. Not to strangers, not anymore. Because he's not their tragedy. He's our son, and this is his life now. But lately there's been this itch in my chest. Not guilt exactly, more like unfinished business. I didn't expect it to last this long. Figured once we had custody, once the courts ruled, once the dust settled, I'd feel peace. But it's not peace. It's quiet, sure, but that's not the same. Sometimes it feels like standing in a house you renovated from the studs up, solid, beautiful, full of light. But there's still one locked room you haven't looked inside. And that room, it's labeled, "What the hell happened to my family?" So yeah, I did something I swore I wouldn't. I agreed to meet with Denise. Not because I missed her. Not because I wanted a relationship. Honestly, not even because of Jonah. I just needed to say some things, out loud, to her face, without a filter. Marcus wasn't thrilled about it, but he got it. "If you're going to reopen this wound," he said, "do it clean. Don't let her pick at the scab." Solid advice. We met at some neutral coffee shop downtown. Glass walls, bright lights, no chance for theatrics. She was already there when I walked in, sitting at the far booth like she was auditioning for a Hallmark redemption arc. Neat blouse, big sunglasses, an untouched chai latte sweating on the table. I sat down, didn't order anything. For a minute, we just stared at each other. She looked older than I remembered, smaller. Or maybe I just felt bigger now, heavier in presence, not weight. Then she spoke. "You look well." "You don't get to say that." She flinched. Good. We were starting honest. "Why am I here, Denise?" "I wanted to talk. Just talk." "You had years to talk. You chose silence, or guilt, or manipulation." "I know," she said. "I made mistakes." "You made a series of selfish decisions that left a toddler in my care and nearly broke me." "I didn't know Toby was going to." "Yes, you did. You always knew what he was. You just hoped he'd change before anyone noticed." She didn't deny it. Just sat there blinking hard. I told her everything, not that she deserved it, but because I needed to let it go. How we found Jonah, what the first nights were like. The court hearings, the therapy, the quiet questions that came at bedtime, the sobs that weren't about scraped knees, but abandonment trauma in a 4-year-old's body. I laid it all out like evidence. Not to hurt her, just to finally say, "This is what you left behind." She cried, quietly, neatly, like everything she does. Then she asked the one question I didn't expect. "Do you hate me?" I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know, but because the answer changed while I was sitting there. "I used to," I said, "but hate takes effort. And you're not worth the energy anymore." She nodded. "Can I ever be in his life again?" That one was easy. No. I left her there, tears or no tears, because I wasn't there to rescue her. I'm done doing that. Went straight home. Jonah was building a Lego zoo on the living room floor. Marcus handed me a glass of lemonade without saying a word. He knows me like that. I sat down next to Jonah, picked up a tiny plastic giraffe, and said, "Can this one be the boss?" "No," he said, super serious. "The penguin's the boss." Fair enough. The thing is, I didn't walk out of that coffee shop feeling triumphant. There was no movie ending, no swelling music, just release. Like I finally set down a suitcase I didn't know I was carrying. Denise will probably try again. I can feel it. Another letter. Another holiday card. Some manipulative guilt trip about time lost and forgiveness. But forgiveness isn't a gift you owe people. It's a choice. One, I'm not ready to make, and maybe never will. Because protecting Jonah, our peace, our home, our little dinosaur family matters more than letting someone back in just because they say sorry after the damage is done. Jonah started asking new questions. Not about Toby, about us. Did you always want to be my dad? At first, I didn't know how to answer that. The truth felt complicated. Like I had to say the perfect thing or risk scarring him. But I just said the real thing. I didn't know I could be your dad, but now that I am, I wouldn't trade it for anything. He smiled and said, even if I throw pancakes. Especially if you throw pancakes. He giggled so hard he snorted. God, I love that kid. Last weekend, Marcus and I went on our first actual date night since everything. Jonah stayed with Marcus's sister. We hit up this tiny Italian place we used to go to before we became full-time emotional scaffolding, over pasta and wine. Marcus looked at me and said, "You're different now. Worse." "Better." I just nodded. I knew what he meant. I don't flinch when the phone rings anymore. I don't wait for the other shoe to drop. I don't need my parents to see me or choose me or validate anything, because I chose Jonah. And that choice rebuilt my whole damn life. We're planning a road trip this summer, just the three of us. Jonah wants to see the ocean that moves. His words, not mine. We're getting a roof box for the car and packing way too many snacks. Marcus made a playlist. Jonah made a countdown calendar with dinosaur stickers. And me, I finally feel like I'm not running anymore. Not from the past, not from the pain, not from my old family. I'm just driving towards something new.